Hey, what's up guys? This is my 2019 Toyota Corolla Hatchback, and I'm going to do a brief explanation of everything I've done to the car. And first we're going to start with the interior. So for the interior of the car, I wrapped the door panels and the dashboard with a crushed velvet pink, which I bought off of Joann's online. I used a 3M headliner adhesive to hold everything down. I really recommend using that adhesive because it's super strong. If you use anything that may be weaker during the summertime, if it gets super hot, the fabric might start falling off, which did happen to me on the headliner a little bit. What happened was that I ran out of the 3M adhesive and I started using a Loctite adhesive back there, and as you can see, it's already falling apart, but the side where I used the 3M adhesive is still holding up strong. So I was lazy to take off the headliner, so I just put some push pins back there, some thumbtacks. It's like a heart, they're heart shaped. Yep. So until I change the color again, that's how it's gonna be. Here's the chandelier. I removed the dome light. There's a bracket, or there's a bar that runs across the ceiling of the car, and I used the bracket that came with the chandelier and ran it over that bar to bolt down the chandelier. You can see the bolts right here. A little hard to see because of all the crystals here. Right there, there's one there, and then one on the other side over here. Kind of see it right there. The socket that came with the chandelier, I removed it. It blew the fuse when I tried to use the right bulb for the original socket. I used a license plate bulb socket. I think it was like a 194 bulb socket. Remove the regular socket that comes with it and put this on. It works fine. I tapped it into the dome light wiring. And then I have this IS Autosport carbon fiber steering wheel with purple leather. Got this beautiful boy racing shift knob. It was a limited production. I don't think he's making them anymore. I think he did one more run of them and that was it. Wrapped the head unit, control panels on each door, as well as the center console in the same purple that I had on the previous wrap color. Even these trim pieces right here on the steering wheel, I bought the eBay trim pieces. I didn't want to actually wrap the actual steering wheel in this color, so I bought the trim pieces and just wrapped them. That's pretty much it for the interior. Got this Lucky Night air freshener, which doesn't even have the smell anymore, but I just have it there for the look. This JDM Tsurikawa Star Tsurikawa, glows in the dark. Fatal Flaw flash ball back there, siren. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the interior. Oh, and I removed the headrest as well. Can't see because of all the stickers and the chandelier, so removing all the headrests kind of helps with that to see back there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the interior. Let's move on to the exterior. So with the exterior, let's start with the front. I did the XSE sedan front bumper conversion. I also shaved the emblem on the top. See here's my old hatchback bumper. So everything fits properly on this. There's only one thing you do have to buy that's not on the hatchback bumper, which is the bracket that goes behind the grille to hold the grille up and mount to the car, as well as hold the sensor for the cruise control. So this is different on the sedan. And on the sedan, there's two different pieces, this main big piece, and then there's a smaller little bracket for the sensor. On the hatchback, it's all in one piece, so you need to buy that if you plan to do the conversion. Other than that, everything else works. The fender liners fit, the bumper bracket fits, as well as this seal right here on the top. This fits on both bumpers. Now, to get this open, you do have to cut on the sedan bumper. On the hatchback bumper, you don't need to cut. You can just remove the grille and it's open. There's no tabs or anything visible. On the sedan, however, there are tabs. this black trim around used to have the grill. It was all one piece. This piece hides all of those tabs. So what I had to do is I had to cut the mesh out. Kind of see the marks right here. All of that. I had to cut all those. I used an oscillating tool to cut it. That's that. I'm using headlights for fog lights. These are just universal 5x7 headlights. These are mounted onto the bash bar with a bracket. So this lower part is the low beam, high beam, turn signal right in the middle. There's also a switchback to a daylight running light, but I didn't hook it up yet. I'm not sure if I want to or not. Yep, 11 beds right there. Oil cooler, I mounted it not onto the bash bar. It's not mounted there. It's mounted on this lower crash bar right here. So how I did that was I welded some brackets back here, and then I had to notch out this plastic right here. Where's the other one? Somewhere over here, to be able to mount the oil cooler. There's 4 mounts, but I only used the bottom 2. I should try to mount the top ones, but just haven't figured out a way to do it yet without it looking too messy in here. I do need to trim off where I used to mount the license plate on this bash bar. This bash bar I made using a Harbor Freight pipe bender, 1.5-inch roll cage tubing. The Harbor Freight pipe bender caused all these dimples. That's why it looks like that. Doesn't really give a good clean bend. Then weld it all together with the Harbor Freight welder as well. For the license plate I made a bracket which swivels out, so when I want to remove the bumper I can do it without having to unscrew any of the license plate. Welded the bracket onto the bash bar as well. You can kind of see how the fog light is mounted right there, straight up to the bash bar. That's that. Oil cooler is not hooked up to the car. It's just, this line just comes out, goes in, and then comes back. It doesn't go to the oil filter. It runs straight up in there. It's zip tied somewhere in there. The oil filter is somewhere down here. So that's that for the front bumper. If you have any more questions about it, just let me know in the comments and I can try to answer it. Oh, another thing. This was a pain to install up here. I had to drill through the actual bumper bracket that runs right here and mount another bracket right behind the headlight, and had to position the little stud that this mounts onto at, you know, the same angle as the bumper to be able to get this to clip on. You can kind of see where I mounted it before the wide body. This is the easiest way to do it. There's no issue with doing it this way, but I had to chop it off because of the fender flare. And speaking of the fender flare, this is a 3.5-inch Icon Motorsport fender flare universal. You can see that it doesn't fit all that great on this car. I'm looking for nicer flares, but I just bought these because they were cheaper, and I didn't want these wheels just sitting in the garage as I was looking for better flares. So I'm still looking for nicer flares. Might even make my own if I feel like doing it. Right now I'm kind of burnt out working on this car, but that's that. I had to cut a lot to be able to put these fender flares on and be able to turn with how wide these wheels are. These wheels are 15x10 -32, but with the 4-lug adapter, which you can see right here, it's 50mm thick, 2 inches, so it brings the offset up to -82, which is quite wide for this car. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see where I cut. I kind of left it raw in here so you can kind of see how it looks. I had to cut down this low on the bumper. I still kind of rub right there where that wrap is peeling off, but the fenders I had to cut so much coming this way because the top of the wheel would be, you can kind of see where I was rubbing before right here. Sorry about my finger, I smashed it like a couple months ago. And then back here I had to modify that plate. There's like an extra piece of metal on this side that comes over straight across to where this higher side is, and the tire was hitting there. You might be able to see, actually you can't, there used to be like a pink mark right here where I was rubbing, but I cut it off and it works. I'm still kind of rubbing. You can see right there where it's not pink, that's where I'm rubbing right now. I might have to cut a hole right there or something, but I do not recommend moving that. If you remove this piece, you'll have a lot of torque steer and it just sucks to drive. So I recommend leaving this piece on. It would help if you just don't go as wide as this, but if you do end up going wide as this, you'll have to modify that piece. I also had to cut half of the fender liner off. There used to be a fender liner in front of this piece. I had to cut it off because I was rubbing on it. I do have the front half of the fender liner though. You could kind of see it in there. Yeah, right there. And for the front camber, I'm running about -5.5 degrees right now. I just got the car line like a couple of weeks ago. So I was maxed out on the top of the camber plate, which gave me about -3 degrees, but the extra 2.5 degrees came from modifying the coilover. You could probably find something on YouTube or the internet, but pretty much, I don't think we could see it here, where it mounts to the bottom on the coilover, where the 2 bolts go through, the 22mm bolts. You just elongate those holes to be able to tilt the wheel inward, and that's how you get more camber. I'll probably try to post a picture or something of where to do that. I'm kind of lazy to take off the wheels. I may do a more detailed video about it if you guys want it. For the rear camber, I'm running about -8.5 degrees right now on both sides. I am using Prius camber arms. I think the brand is called Silk Road from Japan. And I have them maxed out right now, but I'm pretty sure I could go more if I remove the hardware. I don't know if we can see it here. I think that's it right there. That right there. That is the arm right there. I'm pretty sure I could go more if I remove those nuts right there, so I can thread it in more. But I would probably need toe arms to be able to get the alignment in spec if I do go any more than this. BC Racing coilovers, 24K spring rate all around. I might need to go higher, maybe like 32K or something at some point, but that's what I'm running for the springs, the height. Alright, so right now I'm running the stock exhaust because I'm waiting for some mufflers to come in. Stock exhaust is back. Let's see here. So I have these, I made these clear reflectors. What I did was I cut off the red lens. I bought some of the, what do you call that, like an office lighting, a ceiling lens. I traced the shape of the red lens onto this clear lens, cut it out carefully. It cracks very easily if it gets too hot. And then I painted the old housing from red to silver, and then just silicone these lenses right on top to make the clear reflectors. And that's that. Rear bash bar used to be a little bit more fancy, but I shaved it to make room for the new exhaust. This is made out of sheet metal. Backup camera's relocated right here because I shaved the rear emblem. And the way I shaved the rear emblem was I laid fiberglass across and then just bondoed everything until it looks smooth. It's kind of falling apart right now. I'm not sure. I'm kind of lazy to pull the wrap off just to fix it. I might just leave it like that until I either paint the car or rewrap it. The wiring for the backup camera, if you were interested in relocating yours as well. So originally the backup camera is behind this panel, and there's wiring coming from here. I think running across this way through here into this grommet and down through here on the C-pillar. So there's a gray wire with like insulation on it, or the insulation is gray, and there's 4 wires coming out of it, like red, black, green, and white, I believe. Just follow that gray insulation until you get down here. There's an actual harness that you can separate from the trunk right here behind here. That's where I tapped the backup camera, ran the wires all the way down here behind this panel. You can see it right there. Wires coming all the way down into the backup camera. Back here. Oh, there's the wires right there. That's that. Now this will mess up the those lines, the distance lines on the backup cam, but that doesn't really matter to me. If I see the camera's getting too close to something, then I know the rear of the bumper is getting too close to something. So that's when I know we're gonna stop. Got this 4th brake light. This is made for a scooter. As of right now, I think they are out of stock, which kind of sucks because I wanted to buy a second one just in case this one breaks. But just look up the scooter star brake light, you might find it. I got that wired to the left tail light. You can see this ribbed insulation right here runs across and comes up into the tail light. Now, this is the one that everybody's been asking me on Instagram. Is the clear tail light. It's pretty easy to do. As you can see, I did cut into the tail light. You just got to be careful when you do cut it, because this black plastic on the inside, if you cut too deep, you will cut into this and then it will show. This taillight, I did it right. The first taillight I did mess up. It's not noticeable though, because the silicone color I used is clear. Well, clear but white. You can see on this taillight, if you cut too deep, it'll cut through that inner plastic that I was telling you about, and you can see right there, that silicone right there oozing through. But it's kind of hard to tell unless you really look. I mean, from afar you can't see it, so it doesn't really bother me. I suggest when cutting these open, when you go to seal it, I suggest using a waterproof, you know, something that's meant for outside, like outdoor silicone, to seal these up, and be very generous. Maybe put 1 coat, let it dry, the next day put another coat, you know, just get it sealed. And I guess I did it right because I have no condensation so far after a couple of months. So just keep that in mind when doing this. So here's the trunk taillight. So the way you get it clear though is once you open these, the red lens is in there. It's just a couple of tabs. Just pry them off, and that's it. Just pry off the red lenses. Now, your brake light won't be as red as before, but it does light up red. I'm just very lucky that when I cut these open, Toyota used red LEDs to light up the taillight. If they used white, I would have been kind of upset because I would have wasted my time cutting these open, but fortunately they used red LEDs. So that's what makes this possible. I mean, I could always have swapped them out for red LEDs if they were white, but that's a lot of work that I don't want to do. Here's the Highworks spoiler. Mounted only with tape, no screws. I did not want to drill into the trunk because this is made out of a plastic, I believe, or a composite. It's not a metal or anything, aluminum. So I don't want to like mess up the hatch that way. And that's it for the rear. That's pretty much it for the car, I think. Oh, I also shaved the roof antenna. It's not there anymore. I just removed, I actually broke the connector for it. So let me actually show you. All you need to do if you want to shave yours as well is you do need to remove these 3 clips right here. Remove the weather stripping for the hatch right here. Just pull it off. All you got to do is just pull it and it comes off. And then you should be able to pull the headliner down just enough to be able to get to the single 10mm bolt to take off the antenna. There is also a connector in there. Be careful with pulling that off. I don't remember how I did it. All I remember is I did break the connector, and if I wanted to put it back, it would be kind of tough to do that because of that. So that's that. I could get into more detail. Just let me know what you guys want to see in more detail. I can actually start taking things apart. I just want to show everything that I did as far as modifications go. Now that I'm doing the video, it doesn't seem like I did much to this car. Well, visors kind of covered up with this emblem right here. Japan. Blind spot mirrors. I don't use them for blind spots. I just use it to when I parallel park because I don't want to curve my wheels. I used to have an intake on this car, but I was having check engine light issues, so I took it off. The car would die on me when I'm slowing down. That's pretty much it for the car. If you want to see anything in more detail, just let me know. I can show how I did it exactly. But this is just so some of you guys can maybe get some inspiration for your car. Not particularly following the style that I'm doing, but maybe if you want to add an oil cooler or anything, you know, you can do it. All of the stuff I've done on this car is pretty much the first time or second time I've done it, so that's why it's not perfect. But yeah, just let me know in the comments what you guys want to see in more detail, and I can get to it. Thanks for watching.